everyone! Happy New Year! Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to the Age of Sigmar Monday show. We weren't here last week because I'm a fucking baby. And if you listen, I wasn't here. Oh my. Dan, bring us in. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait. Hold on. This entire time, I've had you all muted.
The podcast people will be happy.
Which is good, because you're all being so mean to me. So finally, Dan, you did a good intro, but we fucked yours up as well. So, yeah. Nathan, lead us in. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, fuck you all. We're here. We're going to talk about some toys. So let's get on with the show. We've got a guest on today, Rob Symes, some dude.
Good to have him with us. He's here to talk because he's the best meeting engagements player on the planet and just recently took out the title with his homebrew army of Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah. Some weird battle tome that he's made up.
And we also know from Rob's little disgruntled face that he didn't watch last week's show.
It's all right,
I've been busy, okay? I've been busy. And also, this pays Nathan back for all the times he's never listened to the podcast.
I didn't watch it either, don't worry.
Thanks, mate. You were in it.
So the chat is lighting up. People want to know what inspired you to create them and to create such a useless army as well. And people want to know how do they get as good as you? How do they get good at meeting engagements?
What? Wait, what? You don't. No one plays meeting engagements. Like apart from
engagements, that's why you're the guest on the show.
So that's how you get good. You make sure it's a game that only you play.
Yeah, there we go.
It's like Underworlds. Yeah, it's like Underworlds and Titanicus and all them other. Oh, Titanicus is good apparently. Do you ever get to a club? You know, like your local gaming store, and you just can't play a game of Age of Sigmar and 40k because of all the people playing Aeronautica around you, and you're like, how will I ever get a game again?
I go to local events and I'm like, oh, look at all these people that are painting these tiny little annoying planes. I'm on board.
Right, well,
I'll say I do dig on Underworlds. I've been playing a lot of that online.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, so my treat for myself is after the Super Series is over is Necromunda the game is just downloaded, or it's available soon, and so the TV computer game, and I'm really into it. But I would like to state right now that I'm not 100% certain the T-Sports thing is going to work out, because I'm pretty certain me and Nathan are going to become professional Fall Guy players. I showed him the trailer for it yesterday, and he was like, "Oh, what? You could be a fucking jelly bean. Oh, I'll be a purple jelly bean, and I'll be a purple jelly bean."
Nathan, dress your purple jelly bean up too. Great game.
I've fallen down the rabbit hole of that game hard. I fucking adore it. So anybody who is playing it, drop me a message on Steam. Let's get playing together because it's absurd. And it's honestly the most ridiculous fun. And the thing I love is it's all the frustration of like those group games where you're like, how did that happen? Or like you'll be about to win and then you just get hit by ball after ball to the face, which again will probably appeal to some people. And then you lose and you're like, how did that happen? But it's amazing. I dig on it. But Necromunda is downloading as we speak, so I can't wait to get into that.
Oh, okay. We can form a Necromunda gang. Well, before we go any further, I just want to say hello to everyone for joining us live. Thank you, podcast guys, my Hydro homies. Please stay hydrated. And of course, if you're one of the YouTube commentators like Noops, yeah, like just thanks for being great and just leaving us a message. I always appreciate it. But thank you to everyone on the Wargamer Patreon. Couldn't do it without you. You guys are wonderful and super, super, super wonderful stars. So Nathan, Perkysaurus, thanks for subscribing, by the way. Nathan, Dan, and James are on the show with me today. That's who's here. And I've just run back from the first ever ban camp for the T-Sports stuff, and I am full of adrenaline. I'm going to crash in about 1 hour, 15 minutes. I think that's when adrenaline dump kicks out. I'm going to be a slovenly idiot at that point. But right now, I'm hype as fuck. And I'm happy that I could swear, because I didn't swear for an entire show, and I'm excited. A show you could show your kids. And most importantly, not even the Bruces or Adam Mumford's. To be honest, I don't think there's 3 groups of people that probably would spend more, apart from you 3, who are live right now. So well done to those guys.
What?
Us?
Fuck you.
How dare you? I am scandalized. You big, tall dingus.
Right, so we're going to talk news and then probably nothing else. Maybe some stuff. Who fucking knows this week? But question to Nathan before we go any further. How have you? We'll go with you first. How have you been? What you been up to?
I've been good. I've not been able to do any hobby because some dickhead's taking up all my time. So as soon as that's finished, then I'll get on with playing some games of Warhammer, hopefully.
There's a whole place for you to play Warhammer at now, which is useful. And people can even watch you play.
Oh, then
Is it
they'll
true-
see it's cheated.
Is it true that you actually haven't been playing Warhammer and you have been playing Fall Guys?
No, I've not played that game either.
What colour would your jelly bean be?
Retributor Gold.
Great colour.
Yes. Yeah. Stormcast Jelly Bean.
That's a really high pigment color. Dig it. Yep. One thick coat.
Yeah, that's it.
Dan, how have you been?
Good, great. I've fallen down the rabbit hole of playing some games. I went away to an island for a night where I had 0 reception and no internet. And I actually closed my eyes and heard the sound of silence for the first time in a long time and realized just how bad my tinnitus really is. And so, that was a lovely discovery. I was like, ooh, ringing in my ears. But then I came home and I've just been hobbying my little heart out and enjoying carving up all the stuff.
What hobby have you been doing is the real question.
The hobby has been carving up pointy elves to make them into zombie skeleton elves.
We still haven't seen one.
I know, because you've got me all flighty and nervous, you crooks.
Flighty and nervous. Great.
Your hobby is.
I know the second that any of them come out, I'm going to have my face photoshopped onto them or something like that.
Your hobby is excellent. When I saw your Dispossessed army when you were over, it was phenomenal. Like, beautiful, beautiful hobby. So I'm very excited to see what you actually do with your Venari, I guess. Are you getting any of the mountain cows?
Yes, I'll be getting the mountain cows and lots of the hammer elves, because the only good elf is an elf holding a hammer. Even though
do you mean the dwarven elves? They're basically dwarves.
Yeah, I mean they dig on horns, they dig on big helmets. Yeah, definitely. They're dwelves.
Dwarves. Nathan, how do you feel about them being dwarves?
What? Yeah, sure, they can be whatever they want as long as they're dead soon.
Exactly what they will be. Skeleton packs left, right, and center. I mean, the one for me is getting the not putting in tech lists. Writing lists without tech lists is amazing. You have so many more points, and I think he's a trap. I think he's a big old trap. And he's
sorry. When did you decide he was a trap? Was it close to when you saw the price?
Before that, but I felt like that was gonna be a thing either way. But yeah, no. When I saw that, I was like, I could buy MC Hammer's actual parachute pants for that price. Probably. he's looking for something these days, I'm sure, and he'd be selling off pants left, right, and center.
So yeah, he's Techless in Australia is $240 Australian for Techless.
Yes. Do we know how much that is in pounds?
Yeah, so it's £105 in England, but but Australians don't just pay more because of conversion rate; they just pay more because they're charged more. So it works out to like 138 English pounds for Techless, which is pretty nuts. But you know, they've basically just got a price hike, or they are more expensive. I know, like I had this conversation a bit today. Sometimes it's an issue, sometimes it's not. Depends who you are. If you're excited, yeah, it's pretty big deal. And then $200 Canadian.
Which is actually the thing you have to remember in Canada is they don't actually add the tax onto the price there. So that $200 Canadian is like 225, 226 all up.
Wow. And it's £163 in Japan.
Far out. Yeah. So he's not only a trap in game, he's also a thirst trap when it comes to the price of the model. I think I'm just going to grab a stone horn and convert one of those into that. Looks pretty much the same, and then I'll put an elf on its back. Techless. Perfect. Done.
Techless done. Just do a Lord of Change with Techless on its back. Then you've got two models. Techless done. James, Hobby World Warhammer, how have you been doing, James?
Well, I'm doomed now because now I'm going to have to admit what I brought this weekend.
Oh fuck! What did you buy?
Techless.
Yeah. So I brought a Techless because I haven't even decided if he's going in my army, but I wanted one.
Okay.
I brought some archers because they're pretty. I brought a Calathar because I haven't been able to write a list without one.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought one of those. I think I want two. Then I saw how much was in my basket with 3 models and thought, I'm going to stop there. Then I went to check out and I accidentally maybe purchased completely by accident. Don't know how they got there.
Yes, do it.
The
Say
trigger dice.
Say it. Yes.
No.
Yes.
And it's even worse because someone I know basically spent 20 minutes. So he's one of the people that I see probably every week to play any various games. And he did like a 20-minute chat in our little group chat of 3 about how much he hated the dice. And I got to the till and I was like, 20 quid is worth it just to piss him off.
Every time. And anyone you meet. I want you to know that if you ever play me, I'll insist that you use those dice. And after you get bored, like turn 3, I'll be like, no, don't you fucking dare. You keep using them. Every single roll. That's all I want to see. Like, cool. Brilliant.
I'm gonna bring them out. I'm gonna go to the T Sports Arena and put them everywhere, so everyone rolls them all day.
I'll say, like, I am all for the and a lot of people I've seen are saying, like, hey, don't like it, don't buy them. And I totally get that. I'm right there for it. But my problem isn't the don't like it, don't buy it part. It's the part where I know there are people who are going to buy like 3 or 4 sets of them and use them, like rolling them on the table. And then I have to tell my opponent, like, hey, would you mind not rolling those on the table, or would you mind rolling those somewhere else safe, as opposed to these gigantic, like, long barrels of doom? So yeah, I just want to say I don't mind that people want to use them. I mind that they will gold bloom. And just because they could doesn't mean they should.
If it makes you feel better, what I'm really tempted to now do is try and find a 3D print file of a slide so I can roll them down it.
Perfect. But I want them to be wavy, a bit like Fall Guys. You know, you just have like some like 3D print a whole little run that they've got to get across, and only the dice that reaches the end is the dice that you successfully rolled.
like Mousetrap.
That's how you roll your priority every time. Your opponent's like, oh fuck, here we go again. It's like a 20-minute process where you're like, there can be only one.
Oh my god. Right, well, hello everyone in the chat. LLV, thanks for subscribing. Also, just thanks for being in the chat. The LLV there, which is wonderful to see him. First Brain Squig, great guy. Excalibur Nick, also Wolf Priest Gajal, you're a great human being. Says buying Techless saves you money, is you don't have to buy much afterwards. You don't have to buy as much. Think about that.
Very pricey model, but so's my battle line. So,
and your cavalry, and in fact, all of them.
I did cry a little bit inside when I saw the price of spearmen.
The cavalry are 40 quid each.
For about,
five-
I mean,
for
the spear
5
guys are
dudes.
36.70 or something dumb, aren't they?
Oh wow. Well,
They're like 77 Canadian, which then plus tax is whatever. They're 70 Canadian. So yeah, it's they're not cheap. They're not cheap. So maybe I should turn around and put Techless in to save me money. For me, it was only one of the all of the lifts I've written have only been one scenario, but they've been two of the Stone Mages. And I kind of dig on that because that model does look kind of like badass sexy.
Personally, I'm very excited about the price of Lumineth, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's just because it's a bit like when you were, I don't know if any of you were poor kids at school, but when you saw the rich kid and he had all the fancy shit, you just beat him up and then nicked his lunchbox. Yeah, and then then you wouldn't be eating paste sandwiches for lunch. Nathan, no, you didn't eat paste sandwiches. You just like walked out the schoolyard and I imagine fucking stabbed a zebra. It's just like fucking wrestling a gator, and then that was your lunch.
You don't need to walk out the schoolyard for that.
Oh, okay.
Fuck.
But that does worry. And Pete Pratt, thanks for joining the chat. Ziggy, Pa, also love you. How you doing? The Gargants, Nathan, because we're all hype about getting 3 Gargants, but now the worry that they are going to be 932 Quacha is a big worry.
It's a reality now. Also, can I just quickly point out there that someone wants James to do push-ups and sit-ups? I didn't miss that. That.
I haven't got the chat open today. I'll go do them.
Thanks, James.
Rob tells me off.
Thanks, appreciate that. Oh, he did it. Look at that. Everyone's been getting better. LOV has been away for a while. Big shout out to LOV in the chat if everyone wants to say hi to him. He said he's worried that you're talking about elves, Dan.
it just yeah, all right, fine, fuck it. Why am I feel like all I do is push against this, and all I do is feel it push back into me, and in just like it's like a pike in the bum. I was drawn to them because they're elves with hammers and cows, and I'm a big fan of dairy and the protein that it brings. So I thought may as well make some undead elves to match, because I'd previously have done an undead army back before even when Legions of Nagash just came out, where I converted up a Nagash and then it converted up a bunch of Graveguard out of Shadow Warriors with like skulls and bone arms and stuff. And I was like, that was really fun because I was like, the only elf is a dead elf. And then I saw them and I was like, I want to do dead elf Lumineth. But obviously my mistake was telling everyone that I was doing that. That's where I made that more little technical guess, because then you guys just continue to jump on me for being ear curious.
Ear curious.
A curious fellow.
So a big shout out to Dr. Vulcan in the chat. Thanks for donating. It looks like 700 bits. I was going to start a cow elf army, however, the price was just too much for me to stomach, so I'm donating some of the money I was going to spend instead. Oh, thanks, bud. Thanks, Dr. Vulcan. See, that's very logical of you, is what I'm going to say. And also healing, because we can use that money to buy ourselves salves in the form of jam sandwiches. So I appreciate that. Okay, well, so the only real news in Age of Sigmar this week, other than Seraphon won an event in Poland. Did you know that? Did you hear about that?
No.
What was in the army?
Does it matter?
Was it Croak?
It was. Guess the rest. This is fun. Yes.
Croak 6 salamanders. I'm going to go Croak and 6 salamanders.
Just 3.
Just 3. Okay. Croak 3 salamanders. Guessing a bound Balewind.
I don't know.
I reckon an
Oh, yeah.
bearer, a crow,
Yeah.
the 5 Saurus guard,
10. There were 10.
in the rest of the army.
Well, there was a really interesting pick in the Celestant Prime.
Yeah, good times. Good times.
Do you know what's really, really upset me? Is that I've invented an entire gaming format so that people could deal with problem units. And today, the team organizers of both teams were dickheads and weren't like, yeah, cool, Croak's banned, Prime's banned. Instead, we saw the weirdest bans I've ever, not weird, they all made sense, actually. But, we didn't see any of the things that I expected to see. But, so, anyway.
What was the Oddest Ban? Like, which one came out and you were like, what? Was it one of those?
Doomfire Warlock.
Okay.
That's because somebody wants to take Daughters of Cain, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's a big ban because, like, then you're going, oh, Daughters of Cain on the table. But the interesting, it was about timing as well, because that's where it became really interesting. Because first you had Hearthguard Berserkers ban, which is good, right? So they're gone. So that effectively, it doesn't neuter Fire Slayers though. It just makes you think I'm not taking Fire Slayers, or like go on.
Well, if you ban Hearthguard Berserkers, you said were banned, yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're a Fire Slayer player, and you're like, cool. Now I get to pick from 2 models. Oh, I can't be bothered. They all look the same anyway. No one will know. I'll take my Hearthguard Berserkers and say they're not them. No one will know.
But it might not be, because you might end up with like different, because they're completely different. Because you might get Uruk Hearthguard instead, which is kind of an interesting one. I'm thinking about it now, maybe, but it was after the Fire Slayers ban. So then, in that point, you think so. There are 2 armies that basically play the same. It's Daughters of Cain, and then the Fire Slayer. They basically are indestructible bricks that will fight in the middle of the board around a bunch of characters. So when you have the Hearthguard ban come before you get the Doomfire Warlock safety ban, it's kind of like, because the Fire Slayer's brick is better than the Daughters of Cain brick. And so since the Fire Slayer's books come out, the new one this year, you've seen Daughters of Cain less because they just do the job better. But now, like, the interesting thing is you block off the Hearthguard and then you bring Daughters. Now it's Daughters of Old who are just as scary. I don't know. I just think that was the interesting one, the Doomfire one for me. But yeah, that's it.
So, do you can you run us quickly through some of the bans that we saw? Because
sure.
for me on this side of the world, it happened at about 2 a.m. and I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But give us some hot takes.
Okay. Well, thanks for asking. Okay, so and I'm sorry for everyone who's just like, I just want to hear about Age of Sigmar, not your stupid like tournament setup, Rob. But it's fun. So like, fuck you.
It's also Age of Sigmar.
It is also Age of Sigmar. So the world's first ban, interesting, that ever happened ever, to run you through it, because so Team A only get to ban 1, with Team B banning 2 next, was the Mortek Crawler. That was the first one. So, like, I mean, that's interesting. That feels very targeted at Speckles, but then Speckles doesn't even have that. But, like, it's interesting, the Crawler ban, because it's affected so many armies, right? Gits really suffer because of the Crawler. Characters suffer because of the Crawler. It's just... Have you guys got any takes off the Crawler being banned? Or Excalibur Nick, thanks for subscribing.
I think that with the change to Petrifex Elite to be reasonable, the crawler realistically is the one thing that some armies can't deal with, right? Like if you take bundles of Mortek Guard and Nagash or whatnot and they put it all out on the table, or however they play it, different armies can find different ways to deal with it, whereas 2 or 3 crawlers can just sit at the back of the board and remove characters and like take it off and stuff like that. So you've still got flexibility in the army, but you really, like, if I was doing it, it'd be to remove the one thing my army I can't reliably know I'm going to be able to deal with.
Yeah, Nathan, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so Sentinels were also banned, weren't they? Or was that the same team?
Same team. So composition.
Banned Sentinels and the Crawler.
Yes. Yeah, back to back.
Which are both like long range
character killers.
Yeah, like long range shooting, aren't they? So there's not a great deal else that's sort of deadly. I mean, those 2 are proper, got the reputation, don't they?
Yeah,
and they're pretty hot stuff. So it's quite interesting that those 2 types of long range shooting were got rid of. So I think, but then your other long range threats are things like Croak. So I expect we're going to see Croak, but I think a lot more armies will feel a little bit more comfortable with their smaller characters, are probably going to feel a bit safer. from sentinels and crawlers, but obviously now all they have to worry about is the croak. So it will make the matchup process a bit easier, I think, for those sort of armies.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think both the Mortek Crawler ban and the Sentinel ban really does give you some key indication that there might be some clutch 4 or 5 wound characters here. It even maybe pushes you into thinking that you might see a Gitz army, because some of the major issues that the Gitz army have there is free. But that wasn't those are the 2 bans that the first that we saw was the Crawler, then we saw the Achillean King, and then Salamanders banned from the Troll Slayers. Obviously, Adam and some of the Troll Slayers team have been playing a lot of games on TTS, and the Salamanders have just been tearing TTS up all the time. And the Salamanders is an interesting pick, because me and Nate went into detail on this the other day when we were on site. That's right, we were on site. And we talked about what you would ban, because basically everything's competent. Everything is competent inside Seraphon. But if you ban the Salamanders, you do ban a very specific threat in something that can absolutely guarantee delete a unit, which is a very significant kind of pick, in that you might have a larger character. Let's pick a Nagash, although that's not an issue. An Archeon would be a good example, where those Salamanders really do threaten something like Archeon, because it's maybe he just takes them out alive to dead, because they're terrifying. And then the Achillean King is a pretty big nod to maybe you're going to see 27 more Sargard.
Yeah.
Backed up by Volturnus.
Yeah, absolutely. Backed up by Volturnus instead, as opposed to the Achillean King. Although it's sad we didn't see the Lotan ban, because we all wanted it.
No octopus for you.
I love that model.
Yeah.
I think with the Salamander ban as well, if I was thinking what to remove from that, Croak, you could argue that there is a way to deal with him to dispel, or you can build around stopping him, whereas Salamanders can kind of just cower in the corner of a board, completely shielded, and then teleport to wherever they need to be and mess you up without too much trouble. So, and you can't do anything about that. So if I was looking to ban, I'd always be asking, how do I ban what I can't do anything about?
Yeah, and I think that's why the Crawler is such a good ban, because the Crawler is arguably one of the... it's kind of like Crawler, Marathi, Salamanders, I think, is another one. They're just so, eels, they're just such key elements of the game. And you're like, oh my god. So then those are the first 2 bans that we saw about the Trolls.
Oh, just before we go any further, there was a key question there.
What was it?
Dan said he would ban something he couldn't deal with. So as an elf player, Dan, what do you think you could... Okay, I'm done. I don't even need to finish the question.
Finish the question. Finish the question. Commit to the question.
You've gone this far. What's your question? Or did you
as an elf player, what do you think you can't deal with, Dan?
As an elf player,
hard work.
Honestly, I can't deal with. I can't deal with this. I just need a minute.
Late nights. Not having skincare.
Yeah. Honestly, just watching all my friends age and die before me. That's what I'd struggle to do as an elf player. If it was me and I was genuinely banning something to try and shut down Dispossessed or Dwarden, I'd ban the Rune Lord. That would be if I was trying to do that. That's where I'd go, because the Rune Lord is the key piece. He's the linchpin. He's the force multiplier. So as an elf, that's what I can't deal with. Get rid of him.
Beards.
Says the stream where we're all sat with beards.
Yeah. Can you deal with razors? That's the real question.
No, don't do that.
Okay, all right. So that was first band we saw him was the Crawler, then followed up by the Achillean King and the Salamanders. Then we talked about Hearthguard already. We saw Hearthguard and Sentinels band together, both of which we've talked about, I think, unless anyone's got any additional points that they want to touch on there. I think Sentinels is an interesting one. I think the Hearthguard is also a very interesting one as well, because that makes me feel like you always want to play little MSU, control the board space kind of units that you don't super buff. You don't just bang all of the extra attacks and mortal wounds on. But then you say, well, I'm just going to face 30 fucking ginger dicks and it's just going to be a real issue for me. Like, so of course, if you get rid of them, it really does free up the space. It's kind of interesting, like, knowing that Hearthguard aren't there, are there any lists that you guys have that now become viable because Hearthguard effectively aren't in the game for this week?
I honestly, what I think we might see, I'd love to see it. But I know, I think he's in the chat, and if he is, maybe just quickly pop in what it was. But I'm pretty sure Vanilla Sass took a list that was like 5 Magma Droths once, and just the cascading buffs between the two of them was overlapping between the 5 of them was ridiculous, and they punched holes through everything. We could see I'd probably not. I don't think there are that many people who'd want to risk it and get creative like that. But it was insane. Can you imagine that? We ban Hearthguard Berserkers, and then suddenly there's just Flight of the Bumblebee plays as somebody's putting down like 6 Magma Droths on the table or something.
Yeah, that would be wild. Also, Owen's made a really good point in the chat. The thing that Stonehorns normally do bounce off are Hearthguard Berserkers, because they can punch through most things, but not that. Yeah.
I was going to say ogres, because, I mean, if you look at the Bruces, I don't think there's any Fire Slayer players there, but I think they do like to play with ogres, some of them. So, and I think ogres don't like playing against Fire Slayers particularly.
Because they bounce off them, right?
Yeah, they do, and then they just get chopped to pieces by those little fellas, proper chopped up. So,
well,
yeah.
In a side note, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I would just like to thank Owen in the chat for running a TTS event the other day. And Iron Gutsman, if you're listening, you might be a podcast bro or not. Right here in front of me is a Firebelly, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, he is undercoated, and he is going to be painted, and he is going to be joined by 16 Iron Guts. That's right, 16 big fellas. And I am going to paint up this bad boy. I reckon it's an army I can do fairly quick, which I'm very excited about. Also, I'm very much looking forward to finding some alternate models for some Iron Guts, because there's some really sweet ogre models out there.
As long as you've got this one in there, you're fine.
Already got her painted. The princess of the party. That's right, yeah.
Mine is called Gertha Groin Grinder.
Ooh.
So, yeah, she's a power top.
I didn't know.
Important position.
I can't believe that you've got a model named after one of my exes. It's wild. Anyway, yeah. So the Firebelly.
Find out it's Dan's current wife.
I like how you said current, like there was a past or a future.
Yeah, there's. I'm like Ross from Friends.
What, covered in powder, can't get into leather trousers?
That's like every Friday night.
Well, but anyway, just quick note that I think I'd like to play some ogres, because an amazing list that I don't think I talked about it last week, but that
you went,
yeah, some amazing
skiving.
Okay, so, yeah, some amazing anti-shooting tech is going in Winterbite, -1 to hit, and then getting a spell off, another -1 to hit for shooting for your whole army. And I've always wanted to run a Firebelly, so it's just awesome. And just a big brick of 8 Iron Guts, just being just wading in, just getting in there. Absolutely, like me at the end of the night when I see a bag of crisps, that kind of ferocious, horny hunger. Just, what's your favorite food? That's my next question.
Also, I just like to think, while we're talking about you playing Iron Guts, that's what we said, right? You're playing Iron Guts. So, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 Iron Guts is considerably cheaper than 10 spindly little elves. I'm gonna play ogres too.
Yeah, let's do it. But I want to build like a brick of the Games Workshop ogres, but I also want to do a brick of like third-party ogres because there's some amazing third-party ogres out there in the world, like amazing ones, and I think it's worth. And fuck, I'm never going to play at Warhammer World again. Fuck those guys. I was playing like at the studio. I'll be like, look at it. Like, I want a pirate. Like, I want to use man-eaters also as Iron Guts as well because they look baller. Who's got a problem with that? Anyone?
Nope.
All right, perfect. Nice.
You've
Nathan,
got
you've had a
approval
question.
from the stream, which is like having approval from everybody in the entire world. So there you go. Problem cleared.
That works.
Anyone in the chat? Any other problems you'd like us to rule on, just to officially declare?
Any FAQs? Yeah. Chubky Tristan, what up? Big Goldfish, what up to you? Gursey, good evening. Vangelis, hello. He says Winterbite and 7 Thunder Tusks just for fun. Comment, Dan, we support your Lumineth choice.
Oh God! I was actually literally just carving them up and remembering how much fun it was building my ogres, and I'm removing multiple mold lines off of their skirts, and I was like, I hate this. I hate this so much.
My worst bit is every day at the minute. All I can think about is like, really like to buy a Skaven army.
You guys got a problem.
Yeah.
There's Nathan, who's had enough models to paint for the whole of lockdown. He's never not been painting.
Yeah, never
true.
finished.
His pile of shame dwindles.
Hello, my name is Nathan, and I have a problem.
Is it that you've got 800 Dwardin still to paint?
I've got,
How many
yeah,
gyrocopters are left?
pretty much. I've got about 800 Dryden and about 3,000 Gits. So yeah.
One of the things that I'd love to do with my ogre army, I don't know, COVID's probably made it impossible, but I really want to find a reason to run man-eaters as man-eaters, right? And I had this idea, what if I got one person from different countries, you know, like to convert a man-eater out of an ogre, to like theme it to their country, you know, like I'd do an Australian one with like a cork hat and then have an American one, I assume, with a couple of AK-47s or something like that. And then, you know, like around the world, an English one, I don't know, standing in a queue, and just then play them as like different ogres from around the world, that I could justify it. But of course, with COVID, trying to post anything like that would be a nightmare. But that's my dream. That's my dream one day, is to have a multicultural international unit of man-eaters.
Oh, that would be honestly sweet AF. I think they were. I always liked the man-eaters. Ogres was the first army I picked up when I started getting into Warhammer completely. I was just really into it. But my ogres, I changed all the head swaps later on my ogres on Thundertusk and Stonehorns to have Savage Uruk heads, so they just look like big green skins, which is cool.
That's awesome.
I'd like to do that, I think, with the big brick as well. That'd be fun. Okay, so sorry, I haven't finished. Nathan, someone's asked what hobby you're doing.
I'm painting some iron breakers.
Ooh, and
Yeah.
how many have you got to paint?
20.
Okay, how many have you already painted?
I've got 10 that I had before, so potentially 3 blocks of 10 or a 20 and a 10, because I've got two bosses with hand grenades and guns. So I need at least 2 units. So yeah, that's the plan.
All
Maybe.
right. How many dispossessed have you got left? Because both Dan and Nathan, as the OG dispossessed players. Nathan, I also found out that in the UK rankings, you are the top Goomspike Gits player. You got a little badge. I found out today.
What?
Yeah.
Huh? How did that happen?
Nathan's been submitting results for fake events all of lockdown.
That's a shocker. Wow. Yeah. That's thrown me. How many more Dwarden have I got to paint? I've probably got another 40 or 50 Longbeards to paint. And then I've got another 20 Hammerers and 20 Iron Drakes. So I've got still loads to paint on the dispossessed.
Okay, loads to do.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to not playing them when they've got a 2-up save. But
good times.
or do you guys want me to finish off telling you what bands?
Yeah,
there?
finish about the
Yeah,
band.
sorry, we digressed, right?
We sidetracked. That's okay. I like sidetracking. So after the Sentinels and the Hearthguard were banned, then you got another double ban coming in from the Troll Slayers, which you saw a Lord of Change and Doomfire Warlocks banned.
I like the Lord of Change ban. That means no change host.
Wow.
It does, but I don't think it. I think that the Lord of Change is the worst part of the change host. Like, and I've been running Tzeentch lists that have been like very heavy drops without change host. So without the change hosting, because I think that's been really, really positive. And yeah, like I actually think that's a good. That show there might be a Tzeentch list there, is what I'm trying to say, because I think you can build better Tzeentch lists without change host. And Nathan, you've played my Tzeentch list a few times like that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think the Tzeentch book has still got other stuff that can kick ass. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's still some Tzeentch showing up, either as Tzeentch or maybe Chaos Ascendant.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, that could be. It means I'm trying to think what you would. I don't know. Maybe Screamers. Screamers is a big one that I've played several times on TTS. Terrible army, but I still convinced it's good. I don't know. Like I'm like I've done okay with them. I still think loads of Screamers is a thing. I just don't know.
You might see bulk Flamers as well.
Yeah. Flamers in Chaos Ascendant is a big one. I think like Screamers might become even better with Lumineth release, because if you guys don't know, they do extra damage to wizards, so they're really, really, really good. And they could potentially, like, if you had a big brick of 12, you could potentially take out Teclis in a go with the mortal wounds by running over him and then charging him with the lamprey bites. You could potentially take him out.
Yeah. But do you think now that the Sentinels have been banned that we'll see any Lumineth at the old Super Series come Saturday?
So come Saturday. Oh, how about we get to the end of the bans and then we talk about what we think we might see?
Okay.
How's that sound?
Fine.
Okay. Well, so then, so I think, and then Doomfire Warlock ban we've talked about a little bit, but Marathi's a key piece. Like I think keeping Marathi safe is more important in some situations than banning like taking a hag out or something like that. Like Marathi's actually a unique element in the game, and she can hold up some like pretty significant stuff. Because yeah, you might have 20 Blight Kings. Like you're like, what will fight that? It's like, well, Marathi forever as long as she wants to, which is, you know, pretty decent and can do some really good damage into that unit as well over time. So, so silly questions. No questions are silly. Where are the bans done totally blind, as in guessing what each player will bring, says Faces and Bases. Yeah, they were completely blind. So they all went in there. It was like a fun not experiment, but I guess so. Like a fun challenge for these players before we went into it. So it's the first time anyone's ever done it. And I wonder what lessons... Yeah, I wonder what lessons we'll learn, right? And Queekster says in the chat, the ban makes it so much more viewer interactive because you're starting to think, what did they do that for? What are they planning? Which is the whole point of what we do most of the time anyway, right? They're like, oh, this new unit's out. What are we going to do now? Yeah.
And so do you think some of the bans might have been like dummy bans? So it'd be like, banned Doomfire Warlocks. So now they're thinking, we better prep for Daughters of Cain. And then Daughters of Cain don't turn up.
Well, yeah, go on, James, after you.
I was just going to say, like, me and you did that show, didn't we? And we talked about that. And I think there's some clever... I think it depends how much people have thought about that as a ban phase, doesn't it? Because then you can cleverly pick a unit where you're like, is that defensive or aggressive? I'm not sure. But it now looks like they're definitely taking Daughters of Cain. And I think that's the discussion. And then actually you're not taking them. And someone's like, right, we'll have a hard Daughters of Cain counter for every game. And then they turn up and they're like, oh, you didn't bring one.
I think the really interesting timing wise is that the Hearthguards got blocked. So we just talked about the ogres going into the Hearthguard and them struggling, but now them going into Daughters of Cain is the same situation. The Hearthguard, like, are better probably than Daughters of Cain at that job, but it's the same setup. So if the ogres don't want to go into the Hearthguard, they still don't want to go into the Daughters of Cain, right?
Yeah, but I think they're a little bit happier, like you say. The Daughters of Cain aren't quite the same as the Hearthguard.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Right, then. So then the last two bans for the Bruces was because they get the advantage in being able to ban the first one first, so they have to ban two with one left to the Troll Slayers. So they end up banning the Aether Chemist and the Great Unclean One. And I think that's fairly telling, right? The Aether Chemist, it really does nod to bringing a KO army, or pretending you're bringing a KO army, one of the two.
Yeah, which is a surprise because I don't remember any of the Bruces playing KO, unless Andrew maybe does. I don't know, but yeah, that'd be interesting to see one of them playing KO. Because it does look like that. The Chemist is not an integral part of the KO army, really. So,
which is a big show. Go on, Dan, after you, sorry.
The only thing I find interesting there, though, is that the spell in a bottle artifact is, like, arguably one of the best in the game, and I think for flexibility in that army is awesome. If you were going with a defensive ban to guarantee you can take it, I'm not sure I would have gone the Chemist. I think that it's maybe limiting. Though, then again, if they've already got the list in mind, then they probably just ban something they don't need. But personally, the flexibility of having a spell that you cast that is always, I'm pretty sure you can always get it off because it can't be dispelled. That for me would be really useful to keep towards there, which is weird. Yeah, I mean in the chat, Vanille just asked, could have banned Brock? Like, would have been much
you could have
more,
banned Sky Wardens. Nobody's going to take them.
But again, one of the, if we're looking at it from the other perspective, where instead of it being a defensive ban, i.e., I want to bring KO, maybe it's a defensive ban if we double it up with Sentinels and the Crawler, in that the spell in a bottle is very destructive to small wound supportive characters as like a first turn alpha strike. So maybe that again is what they're looking to stop. I don't want to get spell in a bottle thrown on my army.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Right, which like is a big thing, right?
Yeah, well, which armies does the spell in the bottle hurt the most? Because
people with armies with characters that need support. Yeah,
I would say probably Cities of Sigmar is probably or Skaven and armies like that.
And also, you really have to prep. Like, if you think you're going to go up against KO, like it's like a nice bully army to think is coming. Like if you're like, oh, maybe there'll be some KO at that event. I've really like that. Like we saw Griffa the Charm being taken on a Ragnarok on a Spider Fang Shaman on a Ragnarok so much because you were looking for that -2 to be shot at on that spell platform, right? So Griffa the Charm and also Sneaky Distraction. Nathan, am I right there? Yeah. So I think maybe that's what we're actually seeing. Anyway, then the Great Unclean One, I've got no idea. I got no clue.
That could be defensive though, right?
Into Nurgle. Oh, of course, because then you can take Blight Kings.
Well, I mean, you don't want a Great Unclean One, really, do you? At the minute, like he's not doing a lot other than looking big and like he's put on some COVID pounds.
Yeah, he's not. Even though he's cheaper. Yeah, so everyone, of course, it's a defensive ban. So that big Blight Kings. Interestingly, though, it was last. Like, if you're like, it's not the key. Like, oh, I'm going to bring 60 Blight Kings. It's in first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The ordering is going to be interesting as well. Something I never thought I'd be fascinated by.
But yeah, that's it. Like if it was a defensive ban, you didn't need to make it because it was the last, right?
It was no. There was one more to come.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. But also, I would say that maybe it's because they're like, okay, well, we're going to take a big Blight King army. And when they're looking across theirs, something that they would struggle with is like a thrice-fold befoulment or something along those lines. So it was trying to avoid something they couldn't handle, maybe?
Yeah. Well, so Pete in the chat is quite rightly pointing out the Blight King's battle line. But you can ban the Lord of Blights or Lord of Afflictions, both of which really do help out the Blight King. And also, I'm desperately hoping someone brings the Glotkin, because the Glotkin is baller at the minute, like absolutely baller, and that's what I'm hoping to see, truthfully. Then the last ban, like a full, like Tyrannosaurus Rex smashing through a door in Jurassic Park and just making us all just a little bit more impressed by the Paleolithic era, was Nagash. He was just like, no Nagash, which is pretty big because he's a magic dom in there, right?
And obviously Chris used Nagash to great effect in the Brotherhood tournament.
Of course, I hadn't picked up on that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So he used him with the teleport. So he used him with the grave tide spell. So cast the spell and then cast the grave tide through Nagash and then teleport him into the opponent's army and then charge in and smash everybody up.
Oh gosh, that was a targeted ban.
Cool. Yeah. Player specific.
Yeah, build specific as well. And also, go on, after you.
I was just going to say, so the Prime's free game then? We're probably going to see a lot of Primes.
The Prime's free, Croak's free.
Eels are free.
Eels are free. That's definitely a thing. Skaven are free. You can bring any Skaven you want. That's definitely in there. Well, what else that's scary?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Ideneth on both teams, to be honest.
I mean, someone's made a ridiculous suggestion in the chat, so we should probably ignore that.
What if we'll see Khorne?
No. Someone's asked if Trogs are free. I mean, no one cares.
Also, Speckles is pointing out that Terrorgeist are free, and Terrorgeist is still a thing, though.
Yeah, but Speckles is playing them. Why would they play?
Oh yeah, 1-drop shootcast is free. That's available.
Speckles to be triggered.
Yeah, 1-drop shootcast is free. All of Slaves to Darkness is free. So Bellacor's free. Bellacor's massive. Like
Stonehorns, yeah.
So, going to be interesting. When are the lists up?
So the lists come in on Thursday, but they come in privately, and then Friday we put them up on the show. So Ziggy and the Stat Squad have been helping put in like a kind of a format for us to put the list into, so that it kicks out some really quick data for us. So there should not just only be the list, but there should also be some nice information. Things like wounds per army, drop count, like seem like some really basic things, all the way up to, if we can get it in time, is number of shots per army. You know, that'll be a really interesting one to do side by sides versus castings, that like how many casts one army can do and stuff like that. A number of models. There's a really nice breakdown you can do where it's number of models, number of wounds, and number of units are a kind of interesting three-way divide on some stats. Because obviously when you have things like Fire Slayers, your model count's quite low, but your wound count's quite high. And then if you obviously have your 300 grots, your wounds count is high, your model count is high, and also your drop count is high. So there's a really interesting kind of counterplay there. And I'm hoping when we gather enough data over the next few weeks, we'll be able to really like look at some lists and kind of go, actually, it makes like it's not as important to have a wound sync. It's important to have a model sync. Or, you know what I mean? Like, is it better to control the board space through models, or is it better to have more wounds per model? And obviously it will be a low data set, but it'll be just an interesting look, I think. And so Friday the lists will come in. So get your speculating hats on. That's the point. And now is the time for speculation. Twitch chat, co-commentators, what do you think is going to come along? Dan?
Cities. Big. I think just about every single team is going to bring a cities list, only because yes, a lot of bans can go into them, but there's so much versatility in that army. There's so many options. It's the reason I would say cities is probably one of the hardest armies to get started with if you are starting the hobby, but it is also competitively, if you're building a team, you can kind of shape that into whatever you need it to be. So I reckon just about every team is going to have a cities there. But the problem is you can't plan for it because, again, that cities list could be versatile to fit a gap. I think it would also be cities is the best army to dive on the grenade as well. Like you build that cities list that can just tank and slow down a really top tier list and make them work for the major or fight them to the minor or even a draw. So I reckon it's going to be cities. We'll see a lot of cities.
Which city do you reckon? I think for a team, bearing in mind that it's a team tournament.
I reckon Tempest Eye for one, just because effectively if you can build a list that stops your opponent doing anything turn one, which if you know that they're diving on the grenade, you can be like, great, you've got 4 turns to do it rather than what? And the other one would be, I'd say Tempest Eye and probably Hallowheart, just because Hallowheart can actually build a really strong defensive army. And so I reckon those two.
Yeah, I think in team settings that you'll find Living Cities is quite an interesting one because the ambushing with a shooting army, basically. So it's a bit like the Stormcast dropping out the sky, but you got more variety of stuff. And obviously you can ally in the Stormcast as well to help out. But yeah, obviously Tempest Eye as well is a good call, especially just swamping the board with loads of iron breakers and that sort of thing. Seems to be a popular thing.
Yeah.
I think I still think there's a lot to unpack in cities still. We saw at KenCon just this year, we saw Anvil Guard lists doing okay. City, Living City's still a thing. They're out there. That's the thing. We can't forget Simon Hall and how he almost took out KenCon with his it wasn't a Tempest Eye army, it was his Hammer Hall army. So that was also a big one. And Prime's come down on that list as well. So that really has been a big difference. Big shout out to Scrivo in the way for everyone in the chat who helped out with the stream of the band show earlier. So well done, Scrivs. You did amazing. I think Living City might be better than Tempest Eye. Says it's Pescu. It uses less common picks than Tempest Eye and suffers from getting forced out of position on board control. And Par reckons Hallowheart. Hallowheart's still a 1. Hallowheart just turned up last year, 5-0 in an event and left, and everyone was like, lol, this is terrifying. I don't know. Nathan, you obviously were at Brotherhood earlier in the year. Was Hallowheart not an issue for you or not something that ended up in your team list for some reason?
Well, no, Hallowheart was in our team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's really offensive. But obviously, I think it does rely on being able to drop first. Some armies that outdrop it, and there's a lot of armies that have since got tomes and can outdrop it. But I guess without crawlers and stuff like that being there, it's still a thing now. So yeah, I mean the Hallowheart can arrive, kick in the front door, and then unleash all of the handgunners and crossbowmen that they would like. So yeah, that's pretty scary. I think also Phoenicium's not a bad call in a team setting as well, just for having an army that doesn't die, but then if you do start killing it, especially in combat, it kills you back. So with their substitute of Death Frenzy.
And they're being them being an MSU army as well that is happy to be MSU and be outdropped is not too bad either. So Yeah, I could see them as well fitting a pretty decent like grenade divey role there.
Hmm.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, interesting. James, what armies do you expect to see at the weekend? What are you thinking? What are you hoping to see? Also, Twitch chat and you, everyone else. What are you hoping to see?
I think for me, like if I start with hoping to see, I think it'd be really interesting to see lists that we wouldn't see as often because of the bans that have been put in place.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also really like to see, so I know we already discussed it a little bit earlier, but I'd almost like to see no Daughters of Cain on the side that banned the Wizards on Horses. Dimfire Warlocks. Because I think that like ignore the army picks. Like for me there's a game, I think we've talked about it before, but there's a game in the ban phase. If that makes sense. And I think like if we start to see that someone's like as a community, we're like, they banned a unit just to make them think something else. And I think I've maybe talked about it on the show before, but sometimes I think Warhammer is like just a game of trying to make people make the wrong decision, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And we can't forget that they're also like both those teams planning to go into stage 2, into the semi-finals, and they don't want to give away. Think about what the ban show and the ban phase is going to be like when both teams have already had one in the bank, and now they're going into stage 2. Like, are they even like almost slow rolling their top lists? You know, maybe.
Do you bring your A game to this? Do you bring your A game to the qualifier, or you're like, we try and qualify and then we go big? I mean, there's
Well, all I'd say in that regard is that, like, if you're not bringing your A game to a first date, you might not get a second. so rock up, ready to go.
Dan doesn't date well. Dan's A game doesn't bag the ladies.
Anyone who dates me, it's all a huge drop off the cliff after date 1. It's like romance and then boo.
Is the issue that by the time a lady comes to your house and realises you own a soundproof room, they do one?
Okay, so just a huge sidetrack. But on that note, when I was at university, I lived in a share house with 5 other people. And we were all very good friends. We were all very good friends, and so we used to play jokes on each other and things like that. And one day, while I was with someone, they burst in the door, started singing Christmas carols at me with a stop sign that they'd stolen from a road somewhere. And then they just left it in the room and walked out. So the next time I had a friend over, and we didn't have locks on the doors, I came in and blah, blah, blah. One thing was leading to another. So I grabbed my cupboard and I was kind of dragging it in front of the door. And I didn't actually say anything about why I was doing this. And she was just really looking really concerned. And then myself, probably not in the most eloquent of moments, I turned around and looked at her and I was like, oh, no, don't worry. This isn't about keeping you in. It's about keeping them out. And that was the last time I ever saw her.
That is of no surprise.
Come back either, I don't think.
No, that's a story she tells people. Like she was like, and he had, that's what she tells them.
That's on another stream right now, I reckon. She's like doing a torture that's like, I have never been in a boys' room since.
Yeah, that led her to end up doing some sort of like deep like psychological study, going to uni, retraining, and then now she's doing a TED talk. Yeah,
and realistically, it was just because our entire apartment was far too comfortable with each other.
Also, Jog PLC in the chat said it's the sex swing that usually puts them off. Nathan, care to comment?
I thought I'd put it out of screen. I'll push it a bit further away. Sorry.
That is in no way a joke. But as we were setting up the stream, they said, the sex swing's in the way. Hold on. Let's just move that to the side.
I also like the fact Nathan pushed for about 10 minutes because there isn't one there, there's 3.
It's a sex jungle gym, is what that's called.
It's technically just an adult playground, right?
Yeah, flawless. Right, Dave Fraser's put in the chat that he reckons he's going to see 6 Stonehorns, 5 Terrorgeists, V-Laws, 4 Vampire Lords, Zombie Dragons, and 27 Eagles. That's what it's going to be.
Sounds about right.
So James, what did you say you wanted to see?
Oh, so I did. Well, for me, I want to see lists that are different and things that counteract what we're talking about from the bands, because I think that'll be interesting. In the sense of armies, I don't think I'm just excited to see it happen. That's probably a terrible answer for the stream.
Well, that's useful because you'll be there.
Yeah, but I'm also like excited to, like, I'm almost excited for when those lists come in for people then to just be like, oh, like we've all just sat here for an hour, like, and discussed this, and then probably in the
team chat right now.
Yeah, like the 9 million different Age of Sigmar WhatsApp groups that I try to avoid like the plague, because otherwise my phone doesn't shut up. Like all of those, like there's going to be loads of discussions, and if someone then like let's say what day did we say the lists were?
Friday.
So okay, so Friday when those lists come, yeah, let's say so someone has just said something random in the chat. So let's say someone just spams Nurglings. The Nurgle chat's going crazy.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like
that Nurgle chat's going bananas, like absolutely nuts. So I think that would be quite exciting. It'd be exciting to see someone that's just got like a list. And I know like team events, there's always that option of having someone that goes under a bus, isn't there? But I feel like you could have a list in each army on each side that basically is just there to score like secondaries or to go against the A list of the other team. And it's like, cool, we've brought 300 Nurglings, and all they're going to do is walk forward and bore you.
Okay, all right.
But I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited for.
Good. All right, so you want dynamic lists and something different. All right, and then Nathan, what about you?
Well, I'm expecting to see eels. Obviously, I've said that already. The Morse are guard. So that's what I'm expecting to see. What am I hoping to see? I'm hoping to see speckles with loads of terrorgeists and zombie dragons. Having a great time. Because that's his army. He needs to bring his stuff, man. 5 dragons.
But you can still run cat across and all of the.
No, that's boring. 5 dragons.
Magma dragons? 3 magma dragons?
No.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I don't expect to see that, but yeah, a Lothnier army with all of the magma droths, yeah, would be good as well.
Actually, you know who hasn't been touched and who we could see a lot of?
Who?
Beasts of Chaos.
They also didn't touch Sylvaneth, so they're in the pocket pick as well.
They're
tempted to write some comp right now that Alariel's at 0 points and just roll with it. Yeah, and be okay.
What do you reckon we'll see, Rob?
So, I think one of the techiest armies that you're going to see, which we haven't talked about, is Slaves to Darkness. Like, the elements in Slaves to Darkness, obviously, like Be'lakor is a big one. There's Archaon as well, but Archaon's available in all of those lists. Like, we talked about Nurgle, but Archaon in Nurgle's baller, like absolutely baller. So, I think Slaves to Darkness is that really strong, complicated outside pick. If you look at the event that just happened in Poland this weekend, a Ravagers list, I think it was Ravagers maybe,
best faction,
best sub faction, yeah, came third. And I say Slaves to Darkness is one of those really tough armies where if you don't get what it does, you really don't get what it does. Like, you don't know what the key, and also it really relies on key smaller pieces to get stuff done. So your Chaos Sorcerer Lord's like a pretty key part in that mix up. And is fairly useful. Then it depends what other elements you're adding into that list. But Be'lakor is a big one. Be'lakor is probably one of the most important units in the game right now, and you can ally it into any Chaos Force anyway. Well, ally it, I think it's a he. Into any Chaos. Maybe it's a demon, but you can. Yeah, Be'lakor is a key part, and I would expect to see Be'lakor. I think Be'lakor should always be either banned or there, effectively. I know, obviously, we talk about Croak a lot, but Croak is, like, effective in the game. Be'lakor's effective in stopping you being effective, if that
I
makes
think-
sense.
Bellacor's interesting, isn't he? Because he brings a different dynamic to the game, and I think the interesting thing is there's tricks in that Slaves book, and that Ravagers list I was playing pre-lockdown was probably however was probably the most complicated War Age of Sigmar list I've ever played, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And then also, it's... Oh, was a monkey. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you to everyone for subscribing, by the way. You're all brilliant. Appreciate that loads. It's Pescu has also pointed out that the Khorne Demon Prince is one of my favourite bits of tech also running around at the minute. It's really, really fun, especially if you throw that into something like an Ogre's army. Stonehorns and that Khorne Demon Prince are great friends. If you guys don't know what that does, Khorne Demon Prince, 18-inch bubble on its command ability makes you charge on a d6 as opposed to 2d6. So you can do, and you double that up with Be'lakor, and then you start taking some spells. You can shut down movement for a whole army. It's really fun, really fun. So I would expect and hope to see a Slaves to Darkness army, but we might not. We might not. And apart from that, don't know. That's what's fun about it. Now the whole thing's different, and you're also playing in a team event, and you know you're playing another team. It's another fun element that, you know, Nath, when you went to Brotherhood, for example, in the team event, you guys planned for what the meta was, right? And what you thought you might play against and what armies were going to be there. But now you know you're specifically playing one team. That changes up that dynamic as well, right?
Yeah, and you've got to play multiple armies from that team. So each of your armies actually has to play different armies, doesn't he?
Yeah, so that's the other point as well, is so with the pairing process, like normally you go up against one team and you're like, okay, we're going to do the pairing process. This is our attacker, this is our defender, and then you either do well or you don't do well. But these guys are going to play 3 rounds over 3 different battle plans. So what you'll end up with is you'll end up with different matches. So you won't necessarily be able to pair as well. I mean, there's going to be the pair up for round 1 is going to be great, but the pairing up for round 2 is going to be exciting. It's like, are you still going to put the same attacker in? Is it going to be a double bluff? You're talking about poker. That's a big game, right? Like, what is going in this time? I that's thrilling. And also the Bruces have got some really strong head game. But then also the Troll Slayers don't give a fuck. Like, it's like
That's just Adam though. Like, the minute you see him, you're like, oh cool. No idea.
You're like, I'm gonna get in your head, and he's like, I'm not even in here. So what are you gonna do now?
Like,
what are you gonna do now?
There's a team of broken psychologists just in a padded room being like, we tried.
Tell me what you find in there.
Yeah.
So Jimink Penn says, doesn't that create some NPE, so negative play experience, for the other player? Yeah, it does. Be'lakor and movement stopping spells and the Khorne Demon Prince are definitely NPEs. They stop stuff, but they're also really tactical choices, really tactical choices in the game. And you know, you have ways of shutting most of them down apart from Be'lakor, because even if you kill Be'lakor's still on the table, which is fun. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I think that's all we've got to talk about. If you guys unless you guys have got something else you'd like to bring up.
Something cool.
Yeah,
Lumineth can't ally with Stormcast. That's kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I like it. They're the only order faction that are too hoity-toity for the boys in the Lightning Breaches.
They're too fancy. I do like that, actually. That's actually really fun.
They can only ally with their weird, messed up cousins, the Ardeneth. Because I guess they make them still feel good about themselves. Like, they look at them and they're just like, oh, could have been us. Oh, dodge that bullet.
Maybe they just want to be in a tech list. Like hundreds of hands from the ocean clawing towards his little floaty body.
And he just looks at them and he's like, oh, peasants.
Look at my trousers.
Yeah. Or they're like the kids from his... They're the kids from his first family that he doesn't really want to... He's just like, yeah, nah.
Wow. That's harsh.
And Stormcast then can't ally with Lumineth, because obviously when their book was written, Lumineth weren't a faction, right? So
that's true.
It works
Yeah.
both ways. Okay. Have any of you read the narrative yet? I'd be very excited to read the narrative soon and work out where, like, were the Lumineth always there and they've been revealed, or has there been some sort of like they've come down the mountain like on Rumspringer, Elven Rumspringer?
Civil War. They've been stabbing themselves for a long time, and they've finally got their business together.
Oh, is that the situation?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh wow. Okay, that's cool. All right, that's fun. Because there are 4 other great nations, aren't there? But they're controlled by Tyrion.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man, how did one brother get 1 and the other brother got 4? That's what I want to know.
No, they both got 4. They both got 4.
Oh, okay.
They both got 4, didn't they? Because there's the Fire Nation. Yeah, it's basically the Avatar, last elf bender. Nice, really happy with that.
Nailed it.
High five myself.
I hope we get some rules for that, the Tyrion side of things. Like, it's a kind of a shame that
What? Did you just ask for more elves?
far out.
Far out.
God,
Every time. Just
Every
walk straight
time.
into it.
every time. Yeah, Desert Sketch. We did get the guy who invented Chaos Dwarves on the channel, which is
Oh, yeah.
What is this? What is this joke?
If
Made
you
up
watch
some
last
shit.
week's show, you'll find out.
Oh, God.
This is
Okay.
why you shouldn't ever not be here, Rob, because it's like there was a good 10 minutes of like, okay, how do we capitalize on
hang on.
this?
I have a background from last week. Where is it? Hang on.
Oh yeah.
Let me just change my background.
What? I'm not happy about this.
Oh, I
I'll let you
can't
through.
find it. Oh no, I think it's gone. I had a background that was an old photo of you, Rob, with a little red
I like
cross
that.
over your mouth for the whole show.
I like that MJ Pegasus is like Dan Nathan James. This week's guest has been great. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
It's like every time someone emails the shop and they're like, "Hey, Rob, like just sorting this out," and I'm like, "Cool, yes, it's all right. I've only sent 450 parcels."
Yeah, just nothing for you, everything for them.
I like it when people are like, "Hey, Nate Prescott's assistant, can you do this thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Talking about how you're not a dwarf anymore.
No, great.
Big news for the T Sports Arena also is this week we've been sponsored by a beer company.
What?
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
I've been drinking on streams for like 12 months now, just trying to get some company to give me free booze.
All it takes is you just get like a particularly cantankerous brummy to build you a bar. Yeah, or not even, no, because I didn't even ask him to build the bar. He just said, "I'm gonna build a bar." That was
Even better. Even better.
Brummy.
what? Pardon
So
me?
he's a Brummy.
Yeah.
Ah, it's gonna be the
Ah.
best bar you've ever had.
There will be a bar. I am building it. I don't think we actually have room for that. There will be a bar, and I am building it.
And in even cooler news, it's now going to have like D&D and Warhammer themed ales. Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's
Which is
the brewery?
oh, one moment, please talk amongst yourselves about whatever you like.
Do you
'Cause I
know
wanna
what? The best bit is that about 2 minutes ago, I was like, I'm definitely gonna ask this. And I was like, he's not used the name yet. He's definitely forgotten.
No, but mostly I want to look up the names of these beers. That sounds amazing.
I'll read them out. They're great. So they're called Founds Brewing. So FOWNES Brewing Company, brewers of award-winning dwarven ales and epic tales in cask and keg since 2012, based
Amazing.
in Dudley.
Oh, that's down the
Best-
road. But Dan can't drink them now because
he's not a dwarf. Exactly.
Okay. All right. All of
So
you. My gosh, these look amazing.
yeah, so let me read you some of the beer names. King Korvax Saga, the Royal Oak Bitter, Frosthammer Pale, and my favourite, Daughter of the Sea, which is I cannot wait for that. All right, lad. Just got smashed up by some dinosaurs. I'll have a couple of pints of Daughter of the Sea and some pork scratchings.
That's amazing. Oh, I just want to go there to drink the beer now. Like, bugger off the War Dollies, or what was the other one? Battle Barbies.
Battle Barbie.
Like, yeah, forget those. I don't want to go there and drink the beers just for the name.
You can prop up the bar.
The funniest part about this entire process is the avid, lifelong teetotal organizer of the entire situation is like, they're like, we're building a bar. I'm like, okay. They're like, we'll give you free beer, and I'm like, none of this is useful to me in any way. Like, can I please get some sort of like hip vegetarian cafetiere? Like, you know,
with caffeine-free company.
Who are you?
This is what Chaos Dwarfs drink. Yeah.
That's because Chaos
From
Dwarfs,
their
narrative
weird
can-
cow things that they make.
that's
Yeah.
because the only gap in the armor of your little homebrew team is in the eye. So anything they drink, they have to go straight through the eyeball.
Sorry. Listen, you're very funny, and I love everything you say. Meatballs maybe has made the best comment ever. We shouldn't do pork scratchings. We should do orc scratchings.
Oh, yes.
Really nice.
And then dye them green.
Yeah. All right. Well, so what hobby goals and plans have you guys got this week? Where are you at? What Warhammer do you want to do?
I'd like to, for this week, not be abused quite so much. So I'm going to flick over. I've got a ton of hammers that I need to paint. So I'm going to rotate to them just to spare me. Just to spare me the tongue lashing.
Proper hammers.
Yeah.
Proper hammers.
Yeah. I like that, Dan, your soul is basically being warred for every day right now. It's James and Nathan are just vying for your soul. You know, Nathan's like, come back to the dwarves, and James like, be an elf with me. James, I don't really get what you're at. Do you want to be the only elf player? Is that what's going on?
Oh no, I just like watching Dan's pain.
That's what I was about to say. James isn't warring for it though. It's like Nathan's like, "Oi, you should play dwarves," and I'm like, "That's a really good point." And then James is like, "Dan, you're a piece of shit for not playing dwarves," and I'm like, "Cool
That's
to have
also a good
balance in this."
I've got so many armies that I don't think it matters what I play, and unless Dan's gonna join Legends with me, break out an Enchantress on Unicorn, not interested.
The first time it was like, I don't think I could ever run an Enchantress on Unicorn, because the first time I ever played one was against an old Bretonnia army, like in old Warhammer. She was right there in the middle of like a big lance of knights. And it was like, oh, wow, okay, she looks really intense. She looks really good. And he's like, yeah, she's blah, blah, blah amount of points. I was like, oh, man, she must be amazing. Turn one, cannonball directly to the face, took her out. And I was like, oh. And just like the horror on it was a beautifully painted model as well. Spectacular, like months of work off the board in like 3 dice rolls. And I was just like, and like, I was like, so she's that good, huh?
10 on the back. I'll take her off.
Yeah, that's it. So I was like, I don't quite think that worked out for her, but oh well.
Also, Guy is painting up his second zombie dragon and having Dead Dragons marathon. You get that, baby. You do it. James, you got any hobby you doing this week?
No, not really. I'm hanging out with you later in the week.
You are going to be my co-commentator at the very first ever Super Series Genesis.
I'm so
I get this
excited
different
to
tone
watch
of
that.
voice when I do it. So
I think realistically, that's probably my main aim of hobby this week.
are you excited about doing all the research on the lists that I'm making you do?
Yes. I will. I tell you what. I will research all those lists as hard as Nathan would. That is my promise.
That is poor. Nathan
Isn't the
Prescott.
40k show?
Yeah, Nathan Prescott. What about you, baby? Well, baby,
Hello.
You gonna keep painting up your dwadding?
I am, although I've been writing Gits lists, so I need to actually finish painting some Spore Splatter Fanatics.
Ooh.
And I've got some a unit of sneaky snufflers, which are pretty much nearly done, but I need to go over the mushrooms again, to be honest. So, yeah, because I need to get back on the gets. Just enjoying painting the dwarves at the moment, but need to get me snufflers done and me spore splatters, so I can teach some people some lessons about the barred moon.
Yeah, Nathan, there's a quick question. What percentage done are the spore splatters right now?
They are about 87.3% done.
Good, I appreciate that.
Rough.
So I sadly don't think I'll have any time for any hobby this week, although I might do them during the stream streaks. I'm going to bust out all of my man-eaters and start painting those guys up in situ, and might start on this Firebelly boy right here. What an incredible model that it's such a shame you rarely see it on the tabletop, right?
We spoke about it. Last week we were talking about models that are amazing models that you really want to use, but their rules just aren't that great for them. And the Firebelly was probably a bang on one for that, I think.
Yeah, and I think Battle Mages are on 32s. I think they're on 32s, maybe.
No,
But
25s.
they might be on 25s, in which case
I'd
it's
hope
impossible.
so.
But it would be so awesome to use a Firebelly as like an allied in Fire Mage or something.
Old school mercenary.
Yeah, exactly. That would just be so awesome. So awesome, but whatever. Okay. Painting. So in the chat, Lee Bromley, wonderful person, painting a shanky motherfucker Pterodon Chief this week. Oh, baby. Oh, that's pretty serious. Sorry again. Hello, bud. So it's on 25s. I could get this guy on a 25mm base. I put much bigger models on smaller bases.
One 25mm base for each foot, or just get what's that vortex that the Stormcast have that no one takes? Just put him in the middle of that, because that goes down to a really small point, floating.
The hammer one.
Yeah.
The whirlwind of hammers.
I could just buy the Stone Mage base, put that on a 25mm, that little floating rock.
Balance the ogre on the top.
Balance it on top. Like I say, I've put much larger models on much smaller bases, so I should be fine.
Just put them on 1 foot and then put a dragon to counterbalance.
That's what I did last time, and it worked perfect.
I'd like to see you have a 25mm base with one of those Stormcast hammer things, and then the Firebelly on top, but then remove him breathing fire and have him breathing a dragon, and balance it all on a 25mm. It's just a 25mm at the bottom, all the way up.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, challenge accepted, my friend. Watch this space.
The only band that we didn't see that I really would have liked to see come out, we spoke about it last week, Rob, I just want to get your opinion on this, is banning someone's pride and joy just to hurt them emotionally. Not tactically, but emotionally. So like banning the big corn dragon, just if you knew that one player on the other team has that army and loves that model, and just being like, I'm going to ban it because I want to see you cry when you can't bring your big, expensive favorite toy.
Yeah, I completely see that. They weren't even thinking about bringing it. They're like, Corn Dragon. They're like, oh, yeah, I've got that. Oh, no, wait, what? Oh, wow. They just go for like a roller coaster. Yeah. Like, if I was playing Darren, I would have banned Gotrek. That's the right decision.
That's never the right decision, though. Gotrek's amazing.
Yeah, but banning him would really upset him. Like, if I was playing Nathan, I'd just ban the Gobblepalooza. For no reason. I mean, you can't ban the Gobblepalooza, so I specifically banned Boggle-Eye because I think that's his favourite.
Is that Nathan's favourite?
Yeah, Nathan, who's your favourite of the Gobblepalooza?
Oh, you're making me choose which is my favourite child. I'm going to go with... I really like Shroomancer.
Shroomancer, he's your favourite?
Yeah, Shroomancer.
Okay, that's not what I was expecting. Why?
Because he's riding on a mushroom, eating a mushroom, surrounded by mushrooms that are walking around carrying sticks, whilst a flying mushroom flies around his head.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you're a hippie nowadays. I still remember old Nathan Prescott. They used to, wrestle kangaroos to death and punch them and then eat them.
So you thought I liked Boggle-Eye because he's got a little snotling that he's about to bully up.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough, yeah. I do like them.
But I forgot that you're the big hippie now. Okay.
I mean, brew gets pretty fun. Yeah, but I'll go
It's just
through
naming
them.
them all.
And the answer is all of them. I like all of them.
Everyone.
I read the little short novella the other day called Bosgrot or something, and he had a Gobblepalooza, and the scaremonger was the funniest because they were having a war council, and the scaremonger was totally out of it, and was asking questions about a different thing. Ended up falling asleep in the council meeting. So yeah, in that particular Gobblepalooza, it was scaremonger.
I would listen to tales of... If anyone has any tales of Gobblepaloozas they want to send us so that Nathan just reads them out, I'd be very excited to hear that.
I don't think anyone's used them yet, but they might now.
Yeah. No, I don't want... No. Narrative tales. I want you to write fan fiction of the Gobblepalooza,
God.
send it into the show so Nathan can read it, and then Scaremancer popped out and scared people.
Isn't that how like 50 Shades of Grey started as a fan fiction of Twilight or
A
something?
Warhammer fan fiction.
Yeah, God, this goes to a dark place quickly.
Interestingly,
Warhammer fan fiction. I'm guessing there's something there.
Interestingly, Twilight exists because of 9/11. That's genuinely a true story. Do your research. Yeah, it goes like this. It goes 9/11, Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey, which is fan fiction of that. So 50 Shades of Grey doesn't exist. So if your lady at home is like, oh, I really like 50 Shades of Grey, be like, yeah, you support Bin Laden.
That got so dark.
That's true. That's the truth.
That got so dark.
They'd be like, I
Don't say
can't.
back.
They'd be like, I can't believe you like war dollies. You'd be like, well, you like Bin Laden. And they'd be like, no, I don't. They'd be like, watch this. Yeah? And you've won every argument ever. Yeah? Get ready.
Strings.
Oh, I don't know how to. Like,
You don't have to, Dan. Let's go. Everyone, thanks for listening to the Oddest Wargamer. There's been 3 wonderful people here, Nathan, Dan, and James. None of them like Bin Laden. That's the truth.
To take away.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure, at least. But have you guys got any shout-outs you want to do before we go?
Thanks to our guest that we've had this evening. He's been a bit rubbish, but there we go. And that army's made up sucks balls, but there you go. What can you say?
I might, but the shout out I'm going to make is that Necromunda Underhive Wars launches in 2 hours. So tonight's stream, I'll be playing it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm very excited.
Yeah, so tonight that's what I'll be playing that on stream. So if you want us to have a look at that, that's what we'll go with.
Oh my god, do you want me to play with you? When is it? I've got to go to sleep. I can't. I haven't slept for like 3 weeks. I can't. I can't.
It's in like 6 hours.
No, I can't. Never mind. Watch Dan play. He's funnier than me anyway. Do that. Watch Dan. James?
Well, I mean, you could be awake. We could cuddle.
If anyone could on me, that'd be great.
My big shout out is going to that beer company for their well-named beers.
Yeah. Foundry Beers or something?
Founds Beers.
Founds Beers.
Let's give them a clap.
Sound great.
Hey, I was just looking at some of their other like names as well of their beers. I was like, these are amazing. It's like, I think one of them was like called the Old Gods or something. I'm like, oh my god, I just want to put these in my mouth.
You want to put Old Gods
Someone
in your mouth?
that.
Yeah.
We'll just have a photo of checklist and then
and share it.
I want to put it in my mouth.
I want to put Old Gods in my mouth.
and then clip that one from Rob from 5 minutes ago where he was like, oh my god, do you want me to play with you? And then suddenly we've Nathan's OnlyFans account has got a little bit more content.
Oh, there's enough content on there to sink a ship.
Oh my god, so much. All right, well, it's been wonderful. James, you got any shout-outs? Did you do one?
No, mine was the Brewers. So it's just your shout-outs left.
Just you guys. You were amazing last week. Thanks for covering me. Twitch chat and everyone else. I'm only ever just a better person because of all the people I know. And it's been my privilege and fortune to be able to know you guys and everyone around me. So thanks.
So big round of applause for our meeting engagements champion, Rob.
Thank you. I'd like to dedicate this to
1,000
no one.
points of Chaos Dwarfs. Well done.
Yeah.
Whatever they are.
I heard he created it his homebrew things so well and put so much effort into their battle tome that they're actually going to be featuring him on Warhammer Community.
I'm going to be on what? Me? I'm going to be on Warhammer Community.
With your
can't
compendium.
wait. What? Well, listen, some people... No, I'm not going to get into it. That's fine. Can I shout out Scrivo? Sorry again, you can shout out Scrivo. He's great. He's a legend. I'd like to shout out Wallace also, Big Goldfish. Dan, if you're listening, Painter Dan. Different Dan. He's fine. All right, we're going to go. Look after yourselves. See you tomorrow on the 40K Adjacent Show, when we'll find out just exactly how serious the Bush administration might be, and probably also find out about 40K. If you've never listened to the 40K Adjacent Show, Dan, the two Canadians who are on it are like Bush administration era, like rebellious youths who've grown up and now are part of the system. It's quite funny. So you should listen to that. Anyway,
Good. Love a bit of politics.
Yeah. Well, no, those guys, that's not me. I'm not involved. I don't have an opinion. But do join us on Saturday for the first ever Super Series and find out if the technology works or not. Answers, maybe.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Great guy, great list.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.